Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Edinburgh. Norwich City's pre-season campaign is officially done and dusted, all over, is no more. We can all look ahead to the real stuff now of interest. And to be honest, for the majority of this game, it probably was, it felt like pre-season was over from about probably the 30th minute of this game. Norwich City have been beaten here today. They've lost 1-0 to Hibernian at Easter Road. It was a sloppy goal that they conceded, but really difficult to kind of pass any real verdict or comment on this game, because it was such a youthful, different Norwich City side to the one that we, of course, saw at Celtic yesterday. The challenge was a Hib side who rotated heavily, who are looking ahead themselves to their own season, and who probably had a bit more experience on show, and that was visible in a lot of this game, whereby Norwich, again, kind of similar issues, but difficult to kind of dig into them, perhaps in the same way as we did at Celtic yesterday. Because for the opening 30 minutes, I thought Norwich were relatively lively. John Rowe kind of played as a number 10, and that experiment worked. But to be honest, the most exciting thing, really, from a Norwich perspective, was kind of the shift in formation in and out of possession. They kind of had a 3-4-1-2. That's enough numbers, isn't it? Yeah, 3-4-1-2. When they were in possession, and that out of possession, sorry, and it kind of changed to more of a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4 when they're in possession, or a 4 or a diamond basically in midfield on occasion as well. So that was about as interesting as this fixture got, really. Liam Gibbs had the best chance from a Norwich perspective. Looked to curl the ball over Dabrowski in the Hibs goal. He pushed it over the bar. But really difficult to draw any meaningful conclusions. That's pre-season in a nutshell. But in particular, this game, Norwich had a very youthful back three. Lewis Shipley, Brad Hills, and John Tompkinson, who was kind of the more experienced figure in that big back three. Yanulis played on the left. Dean Smith revealed after the game that he's had a little bit of illness prior to this trip, which is why we probably saw Sam McCallum at Celtic yesterday. I would fully expect Dimi Yanulis to be in the Cardiff, the starting 11 for next weekend's game against Cardiff when that game rocks around. Hernandez kind of played as a right wing back if we're sort of building at it from that 3-4-1-2 shape. It was Gibson, Sorensen in the middle, with Rowe then behind Hugill and Ida. More minutes for Adam Ida, although again Dean Smith said after the game he feels he's still about 3 weeks away from where they need him to be. Norwich, of course, nursing plenty of injuries. The players who weren't involved today but were here, kind of watched from a few rows down from where I'm sitting. Milo Rashica was here. Kieran Dowell, who was earmarked for a return in this game, didn't feature. Dean Smith said it was probably a little bit premature to suggest that this game was perhaps the right one for him to be involved in. Grant Hanley, who kind of limped out of Norwich's game yesterday against Celtic, that's just a contact injury. He's not expecting that to be particularly major. Ben Gibson, get the feeling, he's not confirmed this, but you get the feeling he's probably further away from returning than Sam Byram is, who expects hopefully to be back next week alongside obviously new signing Gabriel Sara. So a few options returning for Cardiff, but Dean Smith knows his starting 11 now. It said that after the game. I think he's probably known it for a little while, truth be told. And he will be looking at all those various different elements and trying to balance off a team that can make Norwich City competitive. He was kind of asked about the lack of creativity. He's not majorly concerned about that. We will see, obviously, if that becomes a kind of repetitive issue over the next few weeks. Everyone obviously hopes it doesn't. It still feels like he's going to go for a 4-3-3, even though that wasn't. He's not really played that system today. Who else featured for Norwich today? There was a few young lads off the bench as well. Regan Riley came on. Abu Kamara came on. So all of that paints the picture of this being a very difficult game to read anything into. And yeah, I think when you kind of add that all up, you get a game that's very different. There we go. I've just realised I've been on mute there, but hopefully I'll pick up where I left off. My mic seems to have disconnected, but hopefully you can hear me. I'm sure you'll let me know if you can't. But Dean Smith will know now what his starting 11 looks like for Cardiff. He'll know how he's going to balance that off. That he doesn't think the creativity is going to be an issue. We'll see kind of how that goes. But as for this game, yesterday felt like the real dress rehearsal. That didn't feel like the case today. I think it probably felt a bit more like an added extra that probably nobody necessarily needed. It kind of felt like yesterday's friendly, everyone got lots out of it. Norwich were playing a very competitive team. Everything felt very competitive, very up to a level where if you're Dean Smith, you would probably want the team to be aiming or aspiring to get to before the season starts. Today kind of just felt like it was a very youthful Norwich team with kind of some experienced faces thrown in there. For all extents and purposes, it was kind of a 23s game more than the first team friendly, with a few, as I said, a few experienced first teamers dotted about in there. So this was it was a tough watch at times. Not the best game of football. I don't think I'll particularly be talking about this one as I progress through my career and we progress through this season. I think it's one that probably, as we leave Easter Road, will be forgotten about fairly swiftly. Those Norwich fans who made the trip, who were sat in that corner, probably not as many as we saw at Celtic yesterday, but there's still a good number here today. They would have done undoubtedly a whole weekend in Scotland, maybe stayed in Edinburgh, stayed in Glasgow. They began quite noisy and again kind of ended the game quite placid, but that was the nature of this one. It's very difficult to extract anything meaningful, as I've said, out of this game. And so we're here now and we can kind of talk about pre-season in a whole, because Norwich City, as I kind of spoke about yesterday, move into it still, it feels like, as a work in progress, still with some issues that need to be resolved as they obviously approach the championship campaign, and still some areas that they need to work on. Some of that may naturally be fixed by some players returning. Gabriel Sara will, and obviously Isaac Hayden as well, will hopefully add a balance to their midfield, which is maybe lacked at points during pre-season. Where the creativity comes from is going to be a major talking point, and that's something that you can go back and watch the Celtic video verdict for a bit more analysis on. But as for this game, I don't think there's too much from a footballing perspective you can extract from it, really. It was a good fitness exercise. Norwich have lost the game. It was a sloppy goal they conceded from a set piece, which I'm sure will irk Dean Smith. But I think when he sits down on the plane back to Norfolk and he gets his players back into training next week, he'll probably be pleased with the weekend up here, because Norwich had a really competitive test yesterday. They managed to give or get a look at some of their younger players today. A couple more injury lines on that. Tony Springett didn't travel, rolled his ankle in the final session before Norwich City set off for Scotland, so he wasn't involved in the trip. It doesn't sound like there's a low move there imminent. We spoke to Jonathan Tompkinson after the game. He was very good. He's hoping to kind of stake his claim to being around Norwich City centre-back conversation, obviously with Christoph Zimmermann departing recently, although he admitted that it's still not been fully decided whether or not he'll head out on loan. So, yeah, still lots to think about, still lots for Norwich City to consider as we move into the new championship season. But I think we'll leave it there, because this game wasn't one where I can list off a load of things that happened, because it was quite a difficult watch, quite a hard watch at times, very pre-season-y, and I'm glad that it's now over and we can begin to talk about the proper stuff, as we will next weekend at Cardiff. Plenty more content, of course, coming on Pinkin.com and the Pinkin Plus app. You can read a story that we put up there this afternoon, a little bit of an update in terms of Norwich City shareholder talks. So you can check that out, all roads point to Cardiff, I suppose. Now, the start of the championship campaign. We'll see how it goes. I get the feeling it's certainly not going to be dull. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out the Celtic verdict as well. We're going to record a podcast this evening from our base here in Edinburgh. We've still got a few bits and bobs of content to get out as well. So keep it locked to our channels for those. But otherwise, enjoy what's left of your weekend, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.